Hello everyone, my name is Rohit Jain and I'm a third year student from Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies. Today I will be talking about the topic options and we would deep dive into each and every topic like what are its types, how we can exercise options, how does option work, and we would also talk about put call parity and a host of other things. So talking about the agenda, we'll first talk about options and how does option work. Later on, we'll talk about the types of option, the sell call, the buy call, the sell put and the buy put. Next, we'll talk about what are the factors that affect the option prices or how does the price of options keeps on changing or what are the factors affecting it, and later on we'll talk about lower bounds and upper bounds of option prices. Next we would talk about the early exercise of options, and lastly we would talk about the put call parity. Let's take a basic example. To understand about options, let's just take a basic example first. There is a contractor who is offering us a flat that we have to pay 50,000 today and we can pay the rest of the amount, that is 50 lakhs, after 2 years. And there is not an obligation for us to buy that. Like we have the right to buy, like we have to pay a premium today, that is 50,000, and we can buy that property after 2 years for 50 lakhs. So we are trying to speculate that whether we should buy this flat or not. So we are paying this premium because we are feeling that in the next 2 years there will be a convention center there, that apartment or there near that flat, and may it's possible that the price of the flat may increase in the next 2 years. So let's just take one scenario that after 2 years the convention center is built and the flat price is now 60 lakhs. So what do we do in this case? We exercise the right to buy. That is, we buy that flat and we have to pay just 50 lakhs. So we see that we are getting the flat at 50 lakhs. However, the market price is 60 lakhs. So we just made a profit of 9 lakh 50,000. Now let's just take another scenario where the price of the flat gets to 40 lakhs, as there is no convention center built and there is some legality issues and we are getting it at the market price is 40 lakhs. So what do we do here? We don't buy the option, we don't buy the flat. What do we do here? We just cancel the agreement, we just cancel the contract, and we have to just bear a loss of around 50,000. So that is exactly what options are. We just took an example here and now we will talk about options. So we see that options refers to a financial instrument that is based on the value of underlying securities such as stocks. So the underlying security here was the flat, and now we would talk about stocks. So in options, what happens is that options have certain features. Like one feature is that each contract will have a specific expiration date, which the holder must exercise their option. In our example, the expiration date was 2 years. After 2 years, we had to buy the option flat, right? And the second is the stated price or the strike price. So the strike price was 50 lakhs after 2 years in our example. And one more feature is that options are typically bought and sold through online or retail brokers. So we will talk about more about the features of options in the next slide. We will talk about the first feature, that is the premium or the down payment. So when a person purchases an option, so they have to pay a premium. The holder of this type of contract must pay a certain amount for having the right to exercise an option in trade. So in this case, what it is saying that if we exercise an option, say the Reliance share is of 2000, but we are not able to pay 2000. So what we do is we pay a certain premium amount, that is maybe a 2% or say 20 rupees or 50 rupees premium for it. So we don't have to pay 2000 rupees, but we just have to pay a certain amount of premium. And if we later on exercise the option, we don't get the premium, but we have to pay the additional amount too. But if we don't want to exercise the option, we just lose the premium amount. Second is the strike price. So we pay the premium because we say that the Reliance share will reach this amount. So the strike price is, suppose Reliance share is today 2000 and I say that after 2 months I pay a bet on 2050 that the price would reach 2050. So that is my strike price, that I am betting that it would reach 2050. So if it doesn't reach 2050, I would just lose my premium. But it is, if it is more than 2050, then I'm able to buy at 2050. However, the market price is more than that. So that is the benefit of option. Third is the contract size. So for options, we just can't purchase one option or just one share. We have to purchase a lot. So the minimum amount of shares we have to purchase in options is 100 shares. So in the case of Reliance, we have to purchase around 150 or 200 shares. So that is the amount of contract size. Talk about the expiration date, as I mentioned, that for option there is a expiration date of around 2 months or 3 months, after which we have to exercise the option or we lose the premium. So we have to decide whether we purchase it or we just lose the premium. So that is about the expiration date. Options is the intrinsic value. So intrinsic value is basically the strike price, the price at which my option has to be exercised, minus the spot price, that is the price prevalent on that day. Like for, let's just take that example of Reliance itself, that Reliance is trading at around 2030 and my strike price was 2050. So the intrinsic value is minus 20. So that is what intrinsic value is. Next is the settlement of an option. So in the case of option, the transaction doesn't happen when I sign the contract. It happens on the expiration date, like on the date when I have to exercise the option. So that is the day when the transaction happens. So that is the day of settlement. And lastly is that no obligation to buy or sell. So as I explained early on, that we are not obliged to buy or sell it. We have the right to buy. Like if it is in my favor, then I will obviously exercise the option. But if it isn't in my favor, then I will just lose my premium. But I won't take more loss in my hands and I will just cancel the contract or I will just not exercise my option. So these are the basic features of options. So firstly, we would discuss about the call options, and under call options, we would start by talking about what buy calls are. So under buy calls, what happens is that the maximum loss the buyer of a call option experiences is to the extent of the premium paid, and the buyer experiences as long as the spot price is below the strike price. We would see all this in our example. So I'm just first talk about the basic features of the buy calls. And the call option, the buyer has the potential to realize unlimited profits provided that the spot price moves higher than the strike price. And in buy calls, what happens is that since we are paying a premium, so when the strike price and the spot price are equal, still we are at a loss of the amount of the premium. So the break even point comes after some amount, like if we are paying a 6 rupee premium, so the break even point would come after strike price plus the premium amount. So that would be the uh, break even point. So let's just take an example. So we are taking an example of a stock of Bajaj Auto Limited, and here we see that Bajaj Auto Limited is currently trading at 2028 rupees, and we have set a strike price of 2050, which means that we are speculating that the strike price after 2 months or the spot price would reach to 2050 after 2 months. And for this, we are paying a premium of 6.5 per share. And since the lot amount is 125, so the total amount we would be paying is 125 multiplied by 6.5. That would be the total amount we would be paying as a premium. So now we see that there are three scenarios. First is that the stock price could be more than 2050, which means that the spot price at that moment is more than 2050. Second is the stock price can be less than 2050. The third is that the stock price can be equal to 2050. In the first case, we see that we would be obviously be exercising the option because we would be earning a certain amount of profit since we had signed the contract to buy it at the amount of 2050 and the price has increased to say around 2060. So we are having a 10 rupees profits, right? It would not be a net profit of 10 rupees because we are paying a premium of 6.5 also, but we are usually having a profit. The second case, we see that the spot price is less than 2050. In this case, we would not be exercising the option because the selling price is already less than 2050. So what is the point of exercising the option? so we won't be exercising the option. And when the spot price is equal to 2050, so in that case, it doesn't matter we exercise or not exercise the option, it's the same. So let's just get back to the graph here. We see that in this case, that the break-even point is at 2056. We would be discussing why it is at 2056, but we see that in the buy call option, the loss remains at 6.5. Like the loss is limited to a certain extent, which is the premium we are paying. But we see that in the case of the profit we will be making, it's unlimited. So we see that buy call is a really good option for a person to buy because the profits are unlimited. So we see the reason why 2056 is the break even point we talk about is this here. Since the possible values of spot, let's just take that the possible value is 2050 and we are paying a premium of 6.35. So the intrinsic value is 0 because spot price minus the strike price is equal to the intrinsic value, that is 0. So the net profit we are making here is the loss of 6.35. The reason is that we had already paid the premium of 6.35 and now we can't take back that amount. So we have to pay additional 2050. We are not paying around 2044 like the premium could be deducted. That is not the case here. So till 2056 we see that we are experiencing a loss of a certain amount. It's not a very big amount, but it's a certain amount. And from 2057, when the trading price of Bajaj Auto Limited is 2057, from that moment we are starting to earn a profit. So that is what we are saying here is the break-even point. At 2056, we see that it is around zero. The amount is near to zero. So after that, the price keeps on the profit keeps on increasing. So that is what all about buy call is, and next we would be discussing about sell call. Saying about sell calls, it is exactly the opposite of what the buy calls are. If the option buyer had limited risk to the extent of the premium paid, then the option seller has limited profit to the extent of the premium he receives. And as in the case of option buyer, the break even point is exactly at the same point at which the option writer starts to lose money. So let's talk about it in detail by seeing an example. And we are taking the example of Bajaj Auto Limited itself. So firstly, we would see that it is the amount is trading at 2028 and the strike price is 2050. The premium amount is 6.35 and the same about the lot amount is 125. Same three scenarios, but now the things are different. So what happens when the strike price is more than 2050? In this case, we would start making a loss. The reason for this is that when the amount has increased to 2050 and we had a strike price of 2050, then we are making a possible loss in the sense that we could have sold the stock at a higher amount in the stock market. But since we are binded by the options contract, we are not able to sell it now. So we have to sell it at a lesser amount, that is 2050, when the amount is still more than that. मतलब मैं कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि जब अगर स्टॉक मार्केट में प्राइस है 2060 तो हमें 2050 में बेचना पड़ रहा है, सो हमारा कितना का लॉस हुआ, 10 रुपए का लॉस हुआ पर शेयर. So that is the loss. It is exactly the opposite in the option buyer case. Please see to that. Secondly, when the stock price goes less than 2050, it's a profit for us. Why? Because if the market price goes to 2045 and we are selling it at 2050, so we are earning a profit of 5 rupees here also. But what happens in this case is generally the option buyer cancels the contract, so we are only able to earn the premium. So that is the reason it is said that the profit is limited to the amount of premium we receive, but the losses can be more. But the losses are not more in the sense that it is not direct loss, it is an indirect loss because we are not paying that amount, but it is a opportunity loss in the sense that we could have earned that money if we were not binded by the options contract. So that is about the sales call. We are in a good situation if the market price remains less than the strike price in the case of sell call, and we are in a good situation in a buy call when the market price increases over and above the strike price. So that is the difference between buy call and sell call. And even if we see the graph here, we see that till the amount of 2050, we are at a profit which is limited to the amount of 6.35. That is the premium we received. And after that, as the market price increases above the strike price, we see that we are incurring a loss, and the loss is unlimited. It can reach to a very large amount, but as I mentioned, that loss is an indirect loss. So we are not paying that amount, but that is an opportunity loss for us. So that is about the call options, and next we would be discussing about the put options. So in put options, the money are in the money when the stock price is below the strike price at expiration. So it is exactly the opposite of call option. So the put, the owner may exercise the option and selling the stock at the strike price, or the owner can sell the put option to another buyer prior to the expiration at fair market value. A put owner profits when the premium paid is lower than the difference between the strike price and the stock price at option expiration. We will talk about it more in detail in the next slides, where we'll be taking an example. And we have taken an example that a trader buys a option to magnify the profit from a stock decline. So here a stock is named WXY, which is trading at $40 per share. And we can buy a put on the stock with a $40 strike price for $3 with an expiration in 6 months. So we are the contract cost is $300, and the premium, that is the premium per share, is $3. So we are buying 100 shares, and since we have to buy 100 shares, a lot contains 100 shares, so we are paying 300 as the contract cost. So as the stock moves from $36 to $35, there is a decline of 2.8%, but the option increases in value from $400 to $500. So as we see that in call and put, there is a stark difference, that it's exactly the opposite. When the value decreases, we are making a profit. So in the option may be in the money below the strike price and at the expiration, but that doesn't mean the buyer has made a profit. And here the premium was $3 per share. So the put buyer doesn't start earning a profit until the stock reaches $37, or at the $40 strike price, and we reduce the $3 premium. So in this example, we see that the $37 is the break-even point on the trade. And if the stock finishes between $37 to $40, we are not incurring a big loss, but we are incurring a certain amount of loss because we have paid a $3 premium in each share. So if it remains between 37 to 40, we are obviously losing a certain amount, right? And if it goes above $40 per share, so we have the put expires worthless, and we have lost the entire investment. So that is what about the uh, sell put is buy put is, and now we'll be talking about the sell put. So in the sell put, we would be taking an example itself. So we would imagine that the stock WXY is trading at $40 per share, and we can sell a put on the stock with a $40 strike price for a $3 expiration. The $3 is the premium we are paying, and the contract is of that same amount, that is $300. So as we see that the profit for the put seller is exactly the inverse of that for the put buyer. So for a stock price above $40 per share, the option expires worthless, and the put seller keeps the full value of the premium, that is the $300. When it is between $37 and $40, the put is in the money, and the put seller earns some amount of the premium but not the full amount. And lastly, when it is below $37, the put seller begins to lose money beyond the $300 premium received. So that is about the put thing. And seeing more about the sell put, we will talk about that selling a put seems like a low risk proposition, and it often is. But if the stock really plummets, then we will be able on the hook to buy it at much higher strike price, and we will need the money in a brokerage account to do that. And so we see that typically investors keep enough cash, or at least enough margin capacity in their account to cover the cost of the stock, and if the stock is put to them. So if the stock falls far enough in value, then they would be required to put more cash in the account. So now we'll talk about the factors that affect the options pricing. Like how is that option priced? How is the premium priced? How is the market priced? So well, let's first see the basics of options pricing. So we see that option traders, like all the traders, have to understand the additional variables that affect the options price and the complexity of choosing the right strategy. So in option, traders must deal with three shifting parameters. There are basically three shifting parameters: the price of the underlying security, the time, and the volatility. We'll be discussing each and every component in detail in the next slides. So we see that the primary goal of any option pricing model is to calculate the probability that an option will be exercised or not. So what it basically means that in the call option thing, what the option pricing model, we see that whether the call by the amount would increase more than the strike price. So that would be the model, right? So that would calculate the probability that an option will be exercised or be in the money at expiration. So firstly, we would talk about the underlying price and the strike price. So the value of the calls and puts are affected by changes in the underlying stock price in a relatively straightforward manner. So it is basically like if the amount is less than the strike price, so we would lose an amount in the call by thing. It's opposite in the sell call. So we see that when the stock price goes up, calls should gain in value because we are able to buy the underlying asset at a lower price than where the market is, and puts should decrease. So as I mentioned, that call and put go inversely. So when a stock price goes up, it would help a call by person, but not a call put person. So it exactly the opposite, and that the predetermined price at which buy or sell is the option strike price, and the strike price allows us to buy or sell the underlying asset at a level which allows for an immediate profit for us. Then the option is in the money, so that is the profit we are making. So that is the first factor that is affecting the option pricing. Second is the time to expiration. So the effect of time is easy to think because, but like it takes experience before understanding its impact. And we see that time works in the stock traders' favor because good companies tend to rise over long periods of time. And no better example for us than Reliance. Reliance was trading at around 700 to 800 rupees 2 years ago, but today it is trading at 2100, 2200. So the foundations of the business has to be good so that it increases by a certain amount of time during a certain period of time. So that those are investments for long period of time. So it is good for us. But the time is the enemy of the buyer of the option because if days pass without a significant change in the price, the value of the option will decline. So in addition, the value of an option will decline more rapidly as it approaches the expiration date. And conversely, that is the good news for the option seller who is benefiting, especially during the final month when it occurs most rapidly. Next is the interest rates. Normally, interest rates don't have nominal influence on option pricing, but it can be a factor if we are trading in options of large size. So its effect is related to the cost of funds. Let's assume that to trade in a large option contract, we decide to borrow money from banks or use funds from our savings that are earning some interest rates. So whichever way we go, we are paying interest on the loan or losing interest on in the case of savings. So if the interest rate is low, we would generally make a profit, but here also the time horizon comes. If it's for a long time, then we are paying interest for a really long period of time. So that should not be the case. Interest should go hand in hand with the time as well. So that is the case with interest rate. So now let's take one of the major factors, that is the effect of the volatility on the options price. And it is a very hard concept to understand for us, and it relies on a measure called the statistical volatility, or the SV, looking at the past price movements of the stock over a given period of time. So in the option pricing models requires the trader to enter future volatility during the life of the option. Naturally, option traders don't really know it will be and have to guess by working the pricing model backwards. And this inputs from the core of implied volatility. So just making it in a layman language, what we do, it's like a financial model thing only. So what we are doing is that we are speculating what the pricing would be in the coming months based on what the prices were in the past. So we see a trend in the past, we apply it in the future, taking into consideration the market, taking into consideration the news, the current scenario. So we take all these things into consideration to make a certain model which gives us a fair value or a fair picture of what the price would be in the next 2 or 3 months. So, and lastly, we'll talk about the dividends. So, that is not a very major factor, but if the value of the dividend is more than 10% of what the spot price of the option is, then the strike price is reduced by the dividend amount. I hope the point is getting clear that when the uh, on the day of on the day of our expiration of the option, we see that the dividend is more than 10% of the value of the spot price. So the value gets deducted from the strike price, the value of the dividend. So that is about the dividend. And now let's summarize it because there were so many points. So when there is an increase in the value of the underlying instrument, the effect on call option is that the price increases, and effect on put option is that it decreases. Second, we see that in case of intrinsic value, the effect on call option is that it decreases, and in the effect on put option is that it increases. You can see that for the rest also that it is the opposite. Like other than the case in increase in volatility, we see that in both the cases of call option and put option, the prices are increasing in both the case. That is a rare case because in all the other thing, we're seeing that the opposite happens. Like in one it increases, in the other it decreases. And in time value and volatility, we see that in both the cases it increases when there is an increase in time value and increase in volatility. And when there is a decrease in time value and decrease in volatility, then both of the call option and the put option decreases. So that's what summarizes the factors that affects the option pricing. So now we would be discussing the upper and lower bounds in an option pricing. So first we'll look at the notations for it. So first we see that SO, that is the price of the share at time 0, and ST, that is the price of the share at time t. T is the time to maturity of the option, R is the risk-free rate of interest, X is the strike price of the option, and C and P are the value of the European call option and put option per share respectively. So talk about the upper bounds and lower bounds. We see that this principle is important while valuing options because at any point of time the options cannot exceed certain limits. So whether on the lower or higher side, the maximum limit to which an option can rise is the upper bound and the maximum limit to which an option can go down is the lower bound. So talking about the call options and the put options, I would take a basic example for that. So let us assume that the value of a call option is 65 and the underlying stock is trading at 60. So in this scenario, one can write the call and sell the stock at 60 and make a profit of 5 per share. The call value on expiry cannot rise above the value of the underlying stock. That is true, right? So now assuming that the company announced a dividend of rupees 5 per share, when this dividend is released, it decreases the value of shares that much. So on the expiry date, it will have a value of 55 multiplied by 55 in the spot market. So logically, the call value cannot go beyond 55 a share. So going back to the first option value principle, the upper bound of a European call cannot go up and above the value of the underlying stock. And if the dividend is declared, then the call option cannot go beyond the spot price of the stock minus the dividend amount. So that is about the call options and the upper bound. So we can talk about it more in detail about the lower bounds we'll talk now. So now let us see what the lowest value for a European call would be. It will be 0. It can go to 0. It cannot fall any more than that. For a call value to be 0, the value of the stock must fall to 0. Let's assume that the value of the stock is rupees 102. So a European 1 year call option is available at a strike price of 108. So if the risk-free rate is 8%, the present value of 108 after discounting 8% would be 100. So in a worst case scenario, the call cannot fall below rupees 2. And if it were to fall to say rupees 1, then one can buy the call option at a strike price of rupees 108 by paying rupees 1. So by selling the stock at 102, one can make a profit of 101 rupees. So out of 101 rupees also, if one were to invest 100 in risk-free bonds, he would get rupees 108 at the end of the year. So if we see that these are the equations, so even in call options, we see that C has to be like the C is the call option thing, and S so is the stock price at the beginning. So this is the equation which we can follow to calculate it. Same goes for put options. For put options, we have to put a certain value, and through that we can take out the upper bound and lower bound values. So it is as simple as that. So now talk about the put call parity. So it is basically a relationship between a price European put option has with a European call option, provided they both belong to the same class. So what a same class is? A same class is basically that the underlying asset of these two options need to be the same. They have to have the same strike price and the same expiration date. So what does this mean? So two options. Suppose we have a European share. So I'm taking the Reliance is in Europe. So basically, a European share. We have taken a European share, a specific company. They both have a strike price of say $50 and a same expiration date of a certain day. So that those two options belong to the same class. So as we see further, suppose a trader simultaneously holds a short put and a long call. So put call parity declares that in terms of the return, this is equivalent to having one forward contract of the same asset, which has the same date of expiration, and one forward price that is same as the strike price of that option. In case the price of the put diverges from the call price and the relationship they had does not hold, an opportunity for arbitrage comes into existence. So we'll talk about arbitrage in greater detail in the next slide. So first we'll just see the formula of the put call parity. So basically the formula is that the price of the call option plus the present value of the strike price is equal to the price of the put plus the spot price of the underlying asset. So this is the basic equation of the put call parity, and the put call parity is only applicable in the case of the European options, and it is not applicable to the American style options, which gives the trader the freedom to exercise them before. So in American style, we have the option of early exercise. So we don't use put call parity in that case. So taking an example, we see that we have a European call option for TK stock. The date of expiration is a year from the date of purchase and the strike price is 150. The call option costs us rupees 50 to purchase as and we get to the right to buy the TK stocks on the date of expiration for rupees 150 no matter what the market price is at that time. So after a year, we see that TK is trading its stock at rupees 100. So we choose not to make use of our option. And if TK trades at 200, we'll make use of our option. This is basic thing which we did in the starting. And suppose we sell a put option for the same stock. The date of expiration, strike price and price of the option are all the same. So we are getting rupees 50 for selling the option and we do not have the right to make use of the option since we do not own it anymore. So the person who bought it from us has also purchased the right to sell that stock at the strike price. So we see that about the put call parity, and if we see later on that if a year later if the TK stocks are priced at 100, the buyer will sell them to us at rupees 150 and both of us will break even in this case since we earned rupees 50 by selling the put option and the buyer had spent rupees 50 when he was buying it from us. So if the company's stocks are worth more than 150, then the profit we will make is only rupees 50. And since the buyer will not make use of the option he bought, so he will not make, he will just lose the premium here. So what I was talking about the arbitrage. So what we see that the put call parity requires the puts and calls to belong to the same strike and have all the same features as I mentioned. And it is possible that there is an opportunity for arbitrage. So the put call parity regulates the European put call options. So we see the formula and instances where one of side. So what happens is that one side of the equation can be heavier than the other, and that is when the arbitrage arises. So a hassle-free profit can be made if a trader sells the side of the equation that is more expensive, the cheaper side bought. So I hope we understood that a trader can make a more profit like when he purchases the side which is more expensive and the cheaper side is bought. So this translates to the selling of a put, shorting of the stock and buying the risk-free asset and call. So in real life, however, occasions where one can take advantage of arbitrage are hard and it is not basically practical every time we try to do it. So that is about the put call parity. And not about the early exercise which I was talking about. Early exercise is of an option contract is the process where we buy or sell shares of a stock under the terms of that option contract before its expiration date. So that holds for American style options only. So for call options, the options holder can demand that the option seller sells shares at the strike price. And for put options, it is the converse. The option holder may demand that the option seller buy shares of the underlying stock at the strike price, but both of this before the expiration date. Like before only they would ask them to buy it. So early exercise makes sense when an option is close to its strike price and also close to expiration because that helps both the parties, right? It gets finished faster and both of them can move on to some other stock or some other option. So even employees of startups and companies choose to exercise their options early to avoid the alternative minimum tax. So it is only possible with the American style option as I mentioned earlier. So most traders do not use early exercise they hold. Traders will take profits by selling their options and closing the trade. The goal is to realize a profit from the difference between the selling price and their original option purchase price. So basically take an example for early exercise. So there is an employee who is awarded 10,000 options to buy a company stock at $10 per share. So and they vest after 2 years. The employee exercises 5,000 of those options to purchase ABC stock, which is valued at $15 after a year. So he's exercising the option to purchase 5,000 shares, not after 2 years, but after 5 years, after a year. So that is early exercise. So exercising those options is costing him an extra money. So it will cost him $7,000 based on a federal AMT rate of 28%. However, the employee can reduce the federal tax by holding on to the exercised options for another year to meet the requirements for long-term capital gains tax. So what happens in early exercise that we have to pay the empty tax and it is generally that it costs us a bit more. So that is about early exercise. And the benefit of early exercise is that a trader may choose to exercise a call option that is deeply in the money and is relatively near expiration. And another reason may be a pending ex dividend date of the underlying stock. So, since option holders are not entitled to either regular or special dividends paid by the underlying company, so this will enable the investor to capture that dividend. And it should also more than offset the marginal value lost due to an early exercise. So, this slide is also about what I talked about the employee options and the early exercise in the first slide. So, that was all about options, how we can trade in options, what are buy call, sell call, put sell, put buy, and I explained the factors which can affect the options pricing. Later on, I talked about the lower and upper bounds, like the highest price an option can reach and the lowest price an options price can reach, and how in American style an early exercise is done, what are the benefits of taking early exercise, and also lastly we discussed also about the put call parity. So thank you so much, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.